Mm-hmm. You can share it around. Ito ang usual ito.
So we continue with the formal, I think that's also before this. No, actually, we did this last week, right? So we did how it is an informal garden, or started thinking about, and then that we went up to the imams. Actually, we went up to Imam Abu Hanifa, past there as we went towards Abu Hanifa. We actually spoke about his teachers, and we spoke about Imam Shafi, Imam Malik, and Imam Ahmad. But we spoke more about the Madani school and about the school of Kufa, one of the things. Right? And we said in terms of the school of Kufa, they had Ahmad Abu Salama, who took from Ibrahim al-Nakhai, who was from the students of Ibn Masrur. And that is from where the majority of the fiqh of Abu Hanifa came from. And we clarified that Imam Malik, he took from Rabi, who was his primary teacher in terms of fiqh, and likewise from Nafi, who was the free slave of Ibn Umar. So now we reach to the four madhahib. So how did this four madhahib come about now? Right? So you have the teachers of what you would call the Madani school and the Kufi school, the school from Iraq. What did they say about the Madani school? What did they primarily rely upon? More than anything else? Narration more than anything else. Because they were in Medina. Right? And the Sahabas were still there, the people took from them was still there, etc. But how many people of Iraq, what did they rely upon? Analytical thinking, Rabi. Ijtihad, correct. Why? But they didn't have access to the Sahabas in that type of policy.
Directly.
Well, they had access to the Sahabas, some Sahabas directly. But what happened is that they didn't have a amount that they had to do. That's number one. And number two, they had a big problem in Iraq. Who were what? A lot of the deviant groups were there. So the Khawarij were there, the Mu'tazila were there, the Jahmiyyah were there, the Shia were there. So they were a little bit, or actually I would say far more cautious in terms of taking ahadith. Right, to the point that some scholars say that Abu Hanifa was very harsh in terms of taking ahad narrations, or narrations are narrations that come from a small number of people, or that don't come from a large number of people. It was very harsh in terms of that, because of the type of water, or the type of environment that had in Iraq, because you have to be very cautious of who you take it from, because of the fact that the person could be lying to you, basically, right? But of course, that by that time, the rules and regulations of accepting or rejecting ahadith, or the sentences of ahadith or usul al-hadith, they will not put down as yet, right? The great imams of hadith, the whole, I'll call the imams of Jahwata, the imams of Ilm, like Imam Ashur, Imam Ali ibn Madini, Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal, etc. They didn't appear as yet, right? So sit through and through the ahadith that they're already memorizing narrations, and they took different volumes and they compared them, contrasted them, and stuff like that. So that era didn't happen as yet. But by the time that era happened, you will be able to say, okay, this hadith is sahih, and this hadith is da'if, etc. This hadith is authentic, and this hadith is inauthentic. Right? So, we have the format diet. Alright. So, we spoke about Assembly School, that we rely primarily upon the athar, upon narrations, that the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, the companions, and they had no worry because they were the leader, they were the leaders. And the era of school writers, that they have plenty of deviants, so they have to be far more cautious. So analytical thinking took a lot of precedence in terms of fiqh, right? And fiqh requires analytical thinking, right? And as we go to the format diet, it'll be easy to clarify. So definition, what is that? So the word manhaj comes from dhahaba in Tabuk, right? That was one of the first words in the book one actually, right? Something like that, right? Okay? According to the scholars, it refers to the manner in which mujtahid scholars, now I have to underline this, scholars, right? Not a scholar, mujtahid scholars. So in a madhab, you don't only have Abu Hanifa, Malik, Shafi'i, and Ahmad. You have scholars, several scholars of that particular madhab, right? Starting from the imams. So the imams are already the start of the madhab, although it is that they didn't have an intention of making a madhab. That wasn't the intention. The intention wasn't that books would be written based upon their statements or anything like that, but come down along and shafat. Right? So mujtahid scholars understand the rules, or the rules, the rules of the Sharia. So these scholars, they adopt a certain way according to how the Imam understood it, or according to how the Imam of the Madhab understood it. They adopted that way in trying to understand the Quran and the Sunnah, or the rules of the Sharia. And when we're speaking about the Sharia, we are speaking about in terms of worship, trade and business, or trade, marriage, capital punishments, etc. Capital punishments, etc. Right? Right. So this is in terms of fiqh, not in terms of aqidah. There is no such thing as, well, you have, the Ash'ari and the Maturidi and this matter. No. Right? In aqidah, you have the madhab of the way of Ahlul Sunnah wal Jama'ah, and you have deviants. It's another one of the next. So Ahlul Sunnah wal Jama'ah, those who follow the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam and his companions in terms of creedal issues. They are Ahlul Sunnah wal Jama'ah. In terms of creedal issues, they are the ones who follow the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam and the companions. Okay? So the people who are Ash'aris, who deny most of others, names and who deny most of others' attributes, as well as the Maturidiyya, they are not included in the Ahlul Sunnah wal Jama'ah according to that definition. So we are not speaking about that because people conflict fiqh with aqidah and with other things. So people will say that, well, I am Hanafi and I practice Mawlud. Yeah, Mawlud has nothing to do with any fiqh. Right? You don't see in any fiqh book, you started to get to the Mawlud. You don't see that. You don't see that it is right to celebrate the Prophet's birthday. You don't see any of that. Or celebrating Miyaj, or doing this, or practicing a Sufi tariqah. You don't see any of that stuff in any fiqh books. So it's speaking about strictly fiqh here. Right? Got it. So the four madhabs refer to the madhab of, or madhabs of Imam Abu Hanifa, Imam Malik, Imam Shafi'i, and Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal. Right? And there were other madhab as well, such as the madhab of Imam al-Awza'i. And Imam al-Awza'i used to live more in Lebanon and Sham. Okay? But this madhab disappeared. Imam al-Tabari, who was from Spain, and this madhab disappeared as well. Imam Sufyan al-Thawri, famous Tabi'i, this madhab disappeared as well. Imam Dawood al-Zahiri, right? And Paul al-Zahiri madhab, right? And his madhab was more in Spain and Northern Africa, but this madhab disappeared as well until you had a famous scholar named Ibn Hazm who came around, I believe it was the 6th or the 7th century, if I'm not mistaken, after the Hijrah, and he wrote different books like Al-Ihkam and Usul al-Ahkam, and books like that regarding fiqh and Usul al-Fiqh. And the madhab became a little bit famous in Spain, and then died out, but people still use the books of Ibn Hazm. Right? Now this book called Evolution of the Madhab is a very good book. Right? And I suggest that if you want to learn about the different madhab, the stages it went through, etc., that if you want to do it in detail, because as I said, I'm doing this in like about two days, and it really will take possibly 6 months or a whole year to actually do this type of discourse. But if you want some more details, something about it, inshallah, right? This is a very good movie, Evolution of it. Right? So we'll go through inshallah. So there were other madhab. So there were not only 4 madhabs. Understand? There were other madhab that were existed at the time. So madhab meaning that in other words, you had students of Imam al-Awza'i who carried on his statements. who carried on the statements. You had students of Imam al-Tabari who carried on the statements in fiqh, likewise Sufyan al-Thawri, likewise Dawood al-Bahri. Yes.
So apart from these four items that you said today, and those that you mentioned that are no longer around, are there behind four? Are there any that came about from them to now that existed, like the Jafari and so on?
Jafari is more Shia. The Zaidi as well is more Shia based.
They exist today?
They exist. The Jafari exists in Iran, but they have extremely weird fiqh anyway. Right? They have extremely weird fiqh, right? And if you read their books, as one scholar put it, Kalam Wahish Awi, as Egyptians say. They have very, very evil statements regarding Abu Bakr and Omar and Rahman. I call them kafir and out of the level in the street. And some of them I can't even mention here.
So only these four that fall within the articles of the Quran and the Sunnah and so on.
Now, but these others, Imam al-Awza'i, Tabari, Sufyan al-Thawri, etc., they felt the parameters of the Quran and the Sunnah. And their statements are still around here. It's just that people, like, you don't have a person studying a book based upon the statements of Imam Sufyan al-Thawri. Their statements are still around in books like Jami al-Tirmidhi, where he mentions the statements of Imam al-Thawri and Imam this and Imam that and Imam the other. So you have, their statements are still around on the last, right? But however, at the same time, because of the fact that, and we'll go to that inshallah, that they didn't have students to already carry on their particular statements, just kind of, disappear. Right? And even if you find that some of these scholars at this time, they will sometimes take some of these statements of, say, like Imam Awza'i or Imam Sufyan al-Thawri, etc. At times you will find that they will take their statements from certain issues. Right? But these are the parameters of the Quran and the Sunnah. Right? However, the Jafari, they are Rafid Shia. So Imam Abu Hanifa, right, let me read this. So his name is X. Right. Use this. Right. So his name is Nu'man ibn Thabit ibn Zuti al-Kufi. He's Persian. He's not an Arab. He is the only person from the Ashab al-Madhahib al-Arba'ah, from the four Imams, who is not an Arab. He's a Persian. Right? Okay, so he in particular is a Persian. Whereas in terms of the Imams of Hadith, the only Arab is Imam Muslim. We have Imam Muslim, Hajjaj Muslim al-Qushayri, and Naisaburi, although he was born in Pakistan. But he basically was a person who was Quraysh. He was from Quraysh. But he's the only one who, from these 6 books, who is an Arab in terms of Imam Bukhari is not an Arab. Imam Nasa'i from Nasa, not an Arab. Imam Abu Dawud al-Sijistani from Sijistan, not an Arab. Imam Ibn Majah al-Qazwini, not an Arab. Imam Tirmidhi is like what you call east of Iran, not an Arab. Right? So in fact, a lot of the Imams, in terms of Hadith, in terms of language as well, in terms of Arabic language, they have Sibawi. Sibawi is an Arab, Sibawi is a Persian. Right? So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala chooses whoever he wills to carry on his religion, whether Arab or non-Arab. Sheikh al-Albani, white man, blonde hair, blue eyes, not an Arab. Albania. His father fled from Albania when it is that the communists began to rule Albania in the early 1900s and ended up going into Syria. Right? So, yeah. Allah preserves his religion for whomsoever he does. So he was born in the year 80 after the Hijrah. 1 year old changes in the Islamic Empire. So you had the Umayyad Empire, right? that these were the Sudana, or these were from Muawiyah ibn Abi Sufyan, and then you had the sons, and then who went on. And then after that, you had the Abbasids of Banu Abbas who took over and became the rulers of the Muslim Empire, right? So he was a trader of cloth, and took from many scholars who included Hamad ibn Salama and Ibrahim al-Nakhai, who we mentioned last week, especially Hamad ibn Salama. That was his primary sheikh, right? Okay, and as I said, this goes back to Abdullah ibn who? It goes back to who? Abdullah ibn Mas'ud. Remember, Abdullah ibn Mas'ud was in Kufa, and the prime person in terms of fiqh in Kufa was Abdullah ibn Mas'ud. Right? So Ahmad ibn Salama, Ibrahim al-Nakhai, Sheikh, etc., I'll come out in the place. It goes back to Abdullah ibn Mas'ud. Right? So Imam al-Shafi'i said regarding Abu Hanifa, the people are in need of the fiqh of Abu Hanifa in terms of his understanding. And, if it is that you read the books of Abu Hanifa, not just listen to people who say that they fall in love with Abu Hanifa. Right? If you take it, who say you must have jobs, yes I am. Right? So, whoever the captain sets up British, right? So, if you read the books of Abu Hanifa with an open mind, subhanAllah, you realize the type of deep understanding this man has. Although you will find that some of his statements, and as I said, because of the conditions of his time, in Kufa regarding accepting ahadith, etc. But you will find that his analytical reasoning was extremely detailed in how he would bring about a fiqh. Right? And sometimes I would read it and I would be like, wow, this man really had that kind of analysis, that type of brain, that kind of very mathematical brain in terms of how it is that we used to look at it. Right? But of course, as I mentioned before in the first part, that once Abu Hanifa saw a hadith that he had no doubts about, immediately he would accept it. And I mentioned the example of him writing over the socks. Right? So Imam al-Shafi'i, Abdullah ibn Mubarak, he said, I haven't seen anyone who had fiqh like Abu Hanifa. Abdullah ibn Mubarak, he was one of the great muhaddithin of during that time of Islam. Right? And Abu Hanifa died in the year 150 after the Hijrah, the year Imam al-Shafi'i was born. Right? So he died at about 70 years old. Right? Now, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala have mercy upon them, and we're looking forward to the forward for the movement. Right. Now, these names are very important. The students include Abu Yusuf, Yaqub ibn Ibrahim al-Ansari al-Kufi, who was born in the year 113 after the Hijrah and died in the year 182 after the Hijrah. Now, he was about almost 70 or 69 years old. He was responsible for studying the fiqh of Abu Hanifa and was the head judge of Baghdad during the era of Harun al-Rashid. So you see why the Abbasid Caliphate, they took mostly the Abu Hanifa method, because of the fact that Abu Yusuf was the head judge. So therefore the Abbasid Caliphate took the Hanafi method. Right? Another student of Abu Hanifa was Muhammad ibn Hassan al-Shaybani. Right? And let's cover two of the chief students of Abu Hanifa, the Notabushu or whatever. Right? Who was born in the year 162 after the Hijrah and died in the year 157 after the Hijrah. That's like about 55 years old he died. Okay? And he is extremely important, as we will see when it comes to other scholars after Abu Hanifa. Both of them. Right? So keep this name in mind, Abu Yusuf and Muhammad al-Shaybani. When you see the names of Imam al-Shafi'i and Imam Ahmad ibn Muhammad. Right? So the second one, Imam Malik ibn Anas. Right? He was the Imam of Medina. He never left Medina for Toledo. He stayed there, and he studied there, and he died there. So he never really traveled outside. Never traveled to Baghdad or anywhere else. His name was Malik ibn Anas ibn Malik ibn Abi Amr. He was born in the year 93 after the Hijrah, right, in Medina. He was a student of Abdul Rahman ibn Hormuz, who's one of the Imam al-Bukhari. Nafir, and that is the free silver ibn Umar. He is very important. Ibn Shihab, this is Az-Zuhri. So he would have primarily took a hadith from Nafir and Ibn Shihab. Right? Primarily he took a hadith from Nafir and Ibn Shihab. And his sheikh in fact was Rabi'a ibn Abdul Rahman, who I mentioned last week is Rabi'atul Ra'i. Right? He was called Rabi'a of opinions because of the fact that he was very strong in fact. Imam Shafi'i, he said, if the scholars are mentioned, then Malik is the star. And he died in the year 179 after the Hijrah. Right? Some say 180. Right? So that would be how much if my math is correct. That would be like about 86 years old. So you had a very, very old age. Right. So the students included Abu Abdul Rahman Ibn Qasim al-Ataki, who died in the year 191 after the Hijrah in Egypt, right? And Abu Marwan, Abu Malik ibn Salama al-Madashur, right? And he wrote a book called Al-Mudawwana, who was the Mufti of Medina after Malik, and he died in the year 212. And I've just not on purpose. Who was the next student of Imam Malik? I mentioned last week. Right, Imam Shafi. Well, I don't know first slide because you see it anyway while you go to Imam Shafi. Right? So he is very important as well. And we will see how important he truly is in this whole development of the Madhara. So Imam Shafi'i, his name is Muhammad ibn Idris al-Shafi'i al-Qurashi from the Quraysh al-Hashimi al-Muttalibi. So he basically was al-Hashimi al-Muttalibi, from a very high nasab, right? It was coming from, around the nasab of the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, or the 70. He was born in the year 150 AH, which part remember? Where was he born? Which part? Anybody can see it? Starts with a G. Right. No? Gaza. He was born in the year 150 after the Hijrah in Gaza. Right? The same man that the Zionist pigs are trying to take over. Yeah, that's the same man. Right? So he was born there. So he studied under Imam Malik. He also studied under Muslim ibn Khalid al-Zanji and was given permission to give fatwa at 15 years old. I believe Imam Malik was like about 17 or 18 when he gave fatwa. And Sheikh Islam in 10 years or 18 years old when he was given fatwa. So I mean, given fatwa is not prescribed to age, it's basically prescribed upon knowledge. And because knowledge was so widespread at that time, it was strange for a boy 15 years old, they should have that age to play video games, play football, do something that's it, right? And he's given fatwa at 15, right? And likewise, you find that Imam Malik given fatwa at 18 or 19, in Taqiyya given fatwa by the time he's 18 years old. So this is something that used to happen within the Muslims for a very long while. He met, you see why I said Muhammad ibn Hassan al-Shaybani. Muhammad ibn Hassan al-Shaybani is a student of who? Abu Hanifa. So he met Muhammad ibn Hassan al-Shaybani in Iraq and debated with him many times. Now when I say debate, not like how we use debates, not a quarrel out of each other and get vexed. No. The reason for debate was in order to find the truth. And the reason for the week was the water and the truth. So the truth came with Muhammad Shaibani, he would take it. If the truth came with him, he would take it. So it was more of what you would say, in terms of debate, you would say it was more of like a kind of a research debate. So if I am wrong, I'll take my wrong. If he is wrong, and this is the way we're supposed to debate. Okay? Now, if it is that we are debating, it is not for anti-arguments. It's not to make ourselves and organize ourselves and make ourselves feel as if we are better, but rather it is to really find out which one is really the truth or which one is not the truth, right? For this reason, he has an old method, Qadim, from Iraq. So in Iraq, this developed. And when he went to Egypt, he developed a new method. Because remember, before he went to Iraq, he was in Medina. Then he went, so he got this new ones. After narrations. So when he went into Iraq, and he was debating with Muhammad ibn Hassan al-Shaybani, what do you think he would have done? The analysis of who? Abu Hanifa. So that is why you find that the statements of Imam al-Shafi'i would have been different in Iraq when he was not there, and to that which he said in Egypt. Right? Because he encountered new ahadith, new ways of looking at the ahadith, etc. Like that. And also in Egypt he met Al-Layth ibn Sa'd. I forgot to put that as one of the decisions. So in Egypt, he met Layth ibn Sa'd. Right? Who was an Imam in Egypt. He actually had a madhab as well. And Imam al-Shafi'i, he would have studied under Layth ibn Sa'd. Right? And Layth ibn Sa'd is one of the Rijal al-Bukhari as well. He's one of the persons who was mentioned in each of the narrations in Bukhari as well. So he met with Layth ibn Sa'd, studied under him, etc. So you find that there were changes in his statements based upon new knowledge that he obtained. And this is not a problem. Right? A scholar might have old statements, and when it is that he encounters new statements and new ahadith and new understandings regarding an issue, he might change his particular view based upon evidences. He died in the year 200 in Egypt, so he was only 50 years old when he died. Very young. Right? I think he died out of all of them, you know, he was in the earliest symptoms of them, 50 years old. And look how much he put forward for the old man. Alright. Last one, alright, Imam al-Shafi'i, his students include Al-Buwaiti, Yusuf ibn Yahya, who died in the year 231. Al-Nazini, very important. Al-Nazini wrote a book called Mukhtasar Al-Nazini, which is one of the first books written regarding Shafi'i fiqh. As a Mukhtasar is a summarized version, right, of a book. That's what a Mukhtasar is. Right? So he wrote like a short version of the statements of Imam al-Shafi'i. He was the first one, or I believe he was the second one to actually do that. And Imam al-Shafi'i himself, so this is written by Imam al-Shafi'i, right? He wrote, Imam al-Shafi'i, the book Al-Risal, which is the first ever book in the foundations of fiqh, right? And usul al-fiqh. Right? Now the foundations of fiqh is different to fiqh in a small way. Okay, let's put it up like this, right? Fiqh is like this. What is the ruling on fasting? Everybody tell me. What's the ruling on fasting? What was the ruling on fasting? Ramadan. Look, what is the ruling? Compulsory. Good. Alright, so we have that fasting is compulsory. Or what, right? Evidence. You can mention Arabic or English, no matter. Right? But fasting, when you believe fasting has been prescribed to you. Fasting has been prescribed for you. Right? Now this is fair. Right? This is fair. Now usul al-fiqh is like this. What from this verse shows that fasting is compulsory? There's a difference. There's a sort of thing. So, a person asks you, was he really fasting is similar? It's compulsory, or I said, put it back a little, I'm going to put it back a little. Fasting has been written upon you like it has been written upon those before you. So now, a person would ask you, okay, how does that show it's compulsory? Right? So you would say now, Allah said, Kutiba alaykum as-siyam. Fasting has been written upon you, and you would kutiba, right? When you use the word kataba kutiba, it means it shows that it is compulsory. That is usul al-fiqh. Right? So usul al-fiqh uses the language, uses a principle, etc., to show that fasting is compulsory. So usul al-fiqh is, according to some scholars, like the evidence for the evidence. So the evidence could be in terms of language, right? In terms of how it is that is set about, the language is set about, etc. Right? So basically you're looking at kalam, and you're looking at certain principles, etc. like that, right? So because the evidence for the evidence. Imam Shafi'i was the first person to write that in a book called Al-Risala, and it is not it is available in Arabic, and I believe it's available in English as well, they translated it, right? Right? And you'll find a lot of books written by scholars in the past that they are not available anymore. You'll see that, maf'ul. You're not available anymore. You find excerpts of it available in other books. Why? Because the Mongols, what it is that they were on their, I would say tirade, on their venture to conquer and kill, they basically burned down the whole library of Samarkand and burned down the whole library of Baghdad. They burned it down, and they were savages. They burned it down through the books in the sea and all kind of things like that. That was a different level of savage. Right? Okay? But I mean, the different Zionists, they will say, well, you're just trying to catch Hamas, but you don't know who hospital and everything. So, but the Mongols say, well, I just go to kill all of them. So I respect the first one, I respect the second one more than the first one. The second one said, I come to civilize all here, I just come to just kill all of them. So here what? It's like, oh, they get out, or all of them. Right? Literally, that's the kind of letters that they will send to the Muslim Muslim. Right? You would say, which it will protect you, which heaven will protect you, where are you going to run to? You covered. That's literally the letter they will send to them. Yeah? So, but the Zionist pigs, when they will come and say, well, we killed the Palestinian lives, but you're coming. A whole hospital of 400 people to find one person. Come on. We don't believe that kind of lies anymore. You understand? Because at the end, they feel like the Mongols and they say we're going to kill all of here. At least we know what's going on, right? So, Allah understand. Alright. So basically, right, Imam Shafi'i, he wrote that particular book, and that book has a very important place in Islam because it's the first book that basically put together the evidences of how, the evidence of how you understand Al-Fiqh. Alright? Alright, so we're going into Ahmad ibn Hanbal. Right? Alright, Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal. And he is Imam Abu Abdullah Ahmad ibn Muhammad ibn Hanbal al-Shaybani. And he was born in the year 164, so that makes him 14 years younger than Imam al-Shafi'i. Right? So Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal, so the next one, Imam al-Shafi'i, and Qadi Abu Yusuf. Who's Abu Yusuf? I think he's student of? You see? Right. So he takes from Imam al-Shafi'i primarily, and he takes from Qadi Abu Yusuf, who is now in Baghdad. He is the Qadi, or he is the chief judge of Baghdad. So he's taking knowledge from both of them. Imam al-Shafi'i said, I left Baghdad and I have not left anyone more pious and knowledgeable. Study. Right. Than Ahmad. So he memorized over 1 million chains of narration. About 17,000, 18,000 ahadith, but 1 million chains of narration. Right? So it's not extra, it's Alright, so I just go through his letter, his life, or part of his life, and his death, and inshallah after we go through his speech, right? So he was tortured for standing up for the belief of Ahlul Sunnah regarding the Quran, i.e. that the Quran are the words of Allah and they are uncreated. That the Quran are the words of Allah and they are uncreated. This is the description of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. There was a group during this time called the Mu'tazila who were trying to spread the belief, and this was under their wazir, the wazir in particular was named Ibn Abi Du'ad, right? And Bishop Marisi was another wazir as well, he was another minister, and they were trying to spread that the Quran was created, right? And they put him in jail, they forced him to debate with them. He beat them every time in the debate, and then after they debated, they would take him on with them until he would reach the unconsciousness. And he would say that both of you Allah, people of the conviction. But it was something that the Prophet Sallallahu was sometimes doing. Right? And eventually, when it is that Allah put it through that trial, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala helped Sunnah wal Jama'ah by bringing another ruler after Napoleon Mu'tasim, who died, and he had Mahmud afterwards, if I'm not mistaken. Right? And that particular ruler, he helped Sunnah wal Jama'ah, and he preached the proper Akida regarding the Quran, the description of Allah subhanahu the words of Allah, that's uncreated. And he died in the year 241 after the Hijrah. So inshallah ta'ala, after Maghrib, we continue.
Okay.
We have some pies, we have some chubby and drinks in the fridge. You're free to take some and eat. Invited, starting I don't know. Beispiel organization your customers have to eat and drink. Definitely you to register. Each coffee, water, soft drink, chiller. Japan. We have live special.
You know?
I know where it's going to take it. I enjoy it. I love that.
You want anything?
You know what, when you slideshow?
Huh?
You want to use the slideshow?
No, I'm good.
The breakdown they gave us last week, the chain of sahabas and tablets and so on. You open that in the slide and
Oh, yeah, no, yes, I know. Yeah, I'm trying to think further. So, I think it's just until
Right, so everybody make sure your email addresses are on the secretary. That identify your secretary. I know. Right, so make sure everybody have their address. So we'll be able to send you the PowerPoint presentation of all information.
But I was Scottish, so I make it easy, so try to scrap the place like that, but don't is not problem, sure, right? Okay, yes. Alright, so Imam Ahmad continued. So the last thing we were on is that he was tortured, he done words many times, to the point of unconsciousness and whatnot, due to the fitna regarding the creation of the Quran. But the Marxists, were trying to bring everybody to that particular understanding. And Ahmad was the only man left who stood up against them, basically, right? Very prominent. His friend Muhammad ibn Nur, who was, they actually put him and Muhammad ibn Nur in chains on the road, he's going to Baghdad. And he died before him. You had Nu'aym ibn Muhammad, whose hands and feet were chopped off, and it was extremely, it was an extremely bad time of soldier. But alhamdulillah, he had patience. He almost got killed actually. Several times he was needed to be put in unconsciousness. And some people said that if there was to be a prophet after Muhammad, it would be the amount of things he went through. Right? But it took his the after the Sunnah. Right? This is what it's called Imam Sunnah, the Imam Sunnah. So he wrote only 2 books. He didn't write much. He wrote a book on a treatise on prayer, because he saw people pray the wrong way, and he wrote a very short book, actually. And there's no Sunnah, which is 30,000 ahadith, because he didn't want any particular statement being ascribed to him. So he wrote that, in order for people to go back to what the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said. From his students were his 2 sons, Salih ibn Ahmad ibn Hanbal and Abdullah ibn Ahmad. right? And Saleh, he died in the year 266, and Abdullah, he died in the year 290. Al-Akram, Abu Bakr ibn Muhammad al-Khurasani from Khurasan, right? Which is the eastern Iran, Afghanistan, one of these parts. He died in the year 273 after the Hijrah, and his most important student is this man, Ahmad ibn Muhammad ibn Hajjaj, Abu Bakr al-Marwadi, as his most important student. Imam Ahmad loved him a lot. And he died in the year 274 after the Hijrah. Right? Fine. So reasons, so we went through a synopsis of the former Madhahib, and we went through the students and the teachers. Now as we see here, you see that after the time of Imam Shafi'i, you see some type of what? That the Madhahib kind of interwoven together. Because Imam Malik stayed only in where? Imam Malik stayed where? Medina. And Imam Abu Hanifa stayed in Kufa. But when Imam Shafi'i traveled to Baghdad, he met Muhammad ibn Hassan, who was the student of Imam Abu Hanifa, and also recently Imam Malik. So he was able to put put the two schools together. And Imam Ahmad is studied under Imam Shafi'i as well as Imam who? Abu Yusuf, called Abu Yusuf, who was the student of Abu Hanifa. So you find it's very interwoven, right? So it's not like the madhahib are totally independent of each other, but they complement each other in many ways, right? So reasons why the madhahib spread, these four madhahib. Why did these four spread and the others did not spread? Why did the Awza'i, the Jariri, the Zahiri, etc. did spread? Number one, but there are two primary reasons. Number one, the students of the Imam pay particular attention to their statements and this continues for generations. So the Imams, all the Imams are students, but some students carry on teaching the statements of that particular Imam or writing them down, etc. But in some cases, you will find that the Imam will have a lot of students, but after he died, they didn't really pay attention to teaching or teaching other people the Imam, not to mention just teaching Ahadith or teaching how to read the Quran, etc. like that. Okay, and this happens. Like a person might have many students, but only probably none of them possibly pay attention to his knowledge after he dies or after he goes away. Or you would find that the person might have one or two prominent students who raise up. Or you find that the person might have the least prominent students who raise up. And this is how things go. Right? So the students of the Imam pay particular attention to their statements and it's continued for generations. So the students taught it to their students, and it went on like that basically, right? Number two, when the rulers adopted these madhahib, this is very important, and that is why the Hanafi madhab spread so fast, and the Maliki madhab spread so quickly as well. Because in the Hanafi madhab, you have the Abbasid Caliphate, and they ruled Muslim for a while, right? In fact, when the last Umayyad Caliphate, Abdul Rahman, they ran him out. Actually, they get a killer, right? Abdul Rahman, he has a station and he was eating, and he ends up in Spain. And he ends up founding the Umayyad dynasty in Spain. What do you know about that? Right? So, right the rest of the world is Abbasid, Spain is Umayyad during this time. Right? So, yeah, the Abbasid Caliphate, they adopted the Hanafi madhab because the chief judge was who again? Abu Yusuf was the chief judge. So they adopted the statements of Abu Hanifa. Right? Likewise, you find that they go through nonchalant to make it easy. Right? So the madhab or the Hanafi madhab is spread in Egypt, Iraq, the Indian subcontinent, and Eastern Europe, and in the Caribbean as well. Right? So, in Egypt, this was more due to the Ottoman Empire than anybody else. because the Ottoman Empire, they began from the 1330s around that time, and by the 1500s, I believe there was a bit of a Suleimani magnificent conflict. I could be corrected on that. Is that when they conquered Egypt, and basically they were more Hanafi in the orientation, and the judges would have been on the Hanafi method, so there you go, right? So in Egypt it would have spread because of that. In Iraq it was widespread because the Abbasid Empire was based in Baghdad. The Indian subcontinent, due to the Mughal Empire, right? Due to the Mughal Empire, which ruled from around the 1500s or so, right? So the Mughal Empire, especially under this particular king, Aurangzeb, who the Hindu people hate him to, like, subhanAllah, right? Especially under Aurangzeb, who under his patronage, the Fatwa in India was written, or the Fatwa of India was written. During that time, the Hanafi method spread, but they find that it spread from eastern Iran, or it was the method of Iran before, in until Shia, right? So it was in Iran, Iraq, Iran, Afghanistan, India, what is not India, Pakistan, and Bangladesh, right? This is where the Hanafi method spread to, and also Eastern Europe, like in Bosnia, all these different places. It spread there because of the Ottoman Empire conquered these places, and they reached up to the gates of Vienna, only to be backstabbed by the Shia again. The Safavid Empire was trying to hit them from the back, and they had to go and send troops when they were trying to conquer Vienna. They had to send troops back there to cover their backs, and as a result, they couldn't enter the gates of Vienna, but of course, it's the cover of our subhanahu wa ta'ala. Right. So that is why the Hanafi method. So it's mostly based upon the Ottoman Empire, right? In many cases. So we have output Ottomans and the Mughals. Mughals and Abbasids. Alright. So the Shafi'i madhab. Now, there are Hanafis in Ethiopia, as well, I forgot that. There are Hanafis in Ethiopia, and had in Somalia, right? Especially in a place called Zaila, right? In fact, Imam Zaila, he wrote a book, checking the Ahadith, of a Hanafi book called Al-Hidayah. So Zaila in Somalia was a major center of Hanafi fiqh as well, right? Good, right? So people don't know that Imam Zaila, who they quoted, like that he was Somalia. Anyway, right. So the Shafi'i madhab spread the Java Peninsula and Eastern Africa. Java Peninsula meaning where? Because it's a coffee. Java Peninsula. Where's the Java Peninsula? Anybody? Indonesia. Indonesia, Malaysia. Right? Indonesia, Malaysia is different places, right? Brunei, like that. Cambodia, right? Or just Vietnam, etc., like that. Thailand, these places, right? Philippines. Philippines was once a Muslim country, or once all Muslim islands, until the Portuguese came and made it others. Right? But Philippines was one Muslim at the time. Right? And Eastern Africa, for example, like Somalia and Ethiopia. Somalia, Ethiopia are more known for the Shafi'i Mashiach. And also there are Shafi'iyya in places like Egypt as well. And because the Shafi'i is actually very in Egypt. Okay? But Somalia, Ethiopia, and the Java Peninsula, you'll find most of these places are Shafi'iyya. And as a result of the Somali diaspora, even Somalia, due to what was happening in the 90s, you'll find that it also spread in places like England and America, and places like that. Right? The Maliki madhab is more northern, and Western Africa. So Northern and Western Africa, meaning from Libya go down, is Maliki. So we talk about Libya, most of Sudan, Chad, Mali, Mauritania, Tunisia, Algeria, what's another country? Morocco. Yeah, Morocco. All these places Maliki Maghreb basically. Nigeria, Ghana, all these places where have Muslims are mostly of the Maliki Maghreb. And it's spread via conquest in some cases and via trade, especially in West Africa, right? Because you find that those who were in Northern Africa, they used to trade salt, salt and ropes for slaves and gold, right? So as a result of that, they saw the Muslims that and they decided to take Islam by itself. One of the myths that people take was that West Africa was conquered by Muslims. It wasn't so. West Africa was took up Islam voluntarily because even a lot of the people of North Africa, they said that they did not go to try to conquer them, especially when they were in the army. And in fact, about 50,000 horsemen, they were bad news if you tried to conquer them in other words then. So Islam came in afterward until empires like the Mali Empire and the Songhai Empire were basically Muslim empires. Right? And they were mostly of the Maliki Empire. And the Handali Madhab was yani Aqallu Intishara, right? Meaning that it didn't spread very widely, right? So within Quds, meaning Jerusalem, so you had the Maqdis or the Maqadisa, right? Now, it had the Handali Madhab because of Imam Ahmad was alive. They had it in Baghdad, but they were very small. And they were known as a kind of Arab group as well. Right, so for example, they might see a guitar, they might mistake guitar, mash it up and take it, right? And sometimes the religious have problems with them at times. Okay? So, but what happened during the era of the Crusades, they spread in cults around that area. Right? So, you'll find people like Ibn Qudama, Maqdisi, Abdul Ghani al-Maqdisi, etc., that they were big Handali scholars, and they were within the area of Palestine. So when I say Quds, I mean like Palestine, but specifically Jerusalem. Right? And well, people found, I mean, it didn't really spread as much until you had a big imam coming afterwards in Syria called Sheikh al-Islam ibn Taymiyyah, which I did not talk about, right? Sheikh al-Islam ibn Taymiyyah. And Sheikh al-Islam ibn Qayyim. And then you had also Sheikh al-Islam ibn Muflih. These two were students of Ibn Taymiyyah, by the way, right? Okay? And they basically had a great impact on the Handali Madhab, which we speak about just now. But why it is that it is spreading now is because of the Gulf countries. And when I say Gulf countries, I mean Saudi Arabia, KSA, Qatar, and Kuwait. Right? In Saudi Arabia, it was mostly because of Sheikh Muhammad ibn Abdul Wahab, and in Kuwait, Sulaiman ibn Jarrah. Right? Before that time, or like before, like say, like a century ago, the major madhab, right, before a century ago, probably a century and a half ago, a little bit after that, right? The major madhab in the Gulf countries was the Maliki madhab. Right? So the Maliki madhab was the majority madhab in Kuwait and in Saudi Arabia, right? Until the Saudis took over and most of the judges, most of the scholars are taking the Handali madhab. So therefore, they became more Handali effect, as well as the fact that you have people who are going to Saudi Arabia and studying So they will study mostly handling fiqh. So obviously wherever they go, they will teach the handling of them, even if it is whether they know it or they don't know it. Right. Okay? So basically, to put it in a way, is because of these students, number one, and the rulers, number two, or it could be just that, for example, a person is studying in a particular area and he goes back home and he basically teaches what he learns. And as a result of that, you will find that people for that particular matter. Another thing is also immigration as well. So, for example, for example, because of East Indian immigration, you'll find that the Hanafi method spread in Trinidad as a result of that. Right? That's as a result of that. Or I would say parts of the Hanafi method spreads on that, but what happened really started to spread when it is that Mufti Shabir Rahmatullahi went to India and studied. And what that looks like here, to teach and establish it out. Okay? Now, any questions so far? Or are we unclear? Any questions?
Even Qayyim there, even Qayyim Al-Jawziyah?
Ibn Qayyim al-Jawziyah. He was a student of Ibn Taymiyyah. Right? And he was a sheikh of in his own right as well. Right? So you find Ibn Taymiyyah, he had a lot of students, but not more than Muhammad. Ibn Kathir, Shafi'i, what's his name? Imam al-Dhahabi was also Shafi'i as well. So it's not like he used to push behind the Imam, but he was a scholar who studied behind the Imam. But at the same time, he had his own independent ijtihadat. And this ijtihadat, as you will see inshallah ta'ala, when I do a demonstration of the different madhahib, how it is that books are put together and like that. You'll see that has a very great impact in the madhab itself, especially in the later period of the madhab. Right, so we went into another partisanship. We see the last segment before we went to the books itself. So method partisanship. So this is unlawful by consensus. Let me make that clear. It is unlawful by consensus or ijma. Right? No one is obligated to follow anyone except the messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. In other words, they don't follow us. You know, make it long and short. Right? The obligation of a Muslim is that he acts upon what he knows, and if he doesn't know, that's not what he will do. Asking people about the difficulties, what is compulsory upon the Muslim. So there's not compulsory to follow any madhab. Nobody has ever said that except people who are partisans. Right? To tell the average Muslim that he must follow a madhab is impossible. That is how I see it, how it is best, and it's all based on the seat. Right? It's impossible. Why? Because this requires that he has the tools, Arabic, language, and grammar to study a madhab. So a madhab requires study. It's not just Isaac, he is a Shafi'i. You know, Hanafi and they say, okay, I don't know. Okay, where's Mawlud in Hanafi madhab? We can't find it. You understand? You know, you start to feel, okay, what's the conditions of Salah and then Hanafi madhab? Actually, you know. What it is that so the person who's studying a madhab, he has to study the books of the madhab and the books of the madhab in Arabic language. Right? And regarding his madhab is the madhab of the one who he takes fatwa from. So, for example, if it is that he's asking questions to a particular person, that person gives an answer that is the madhab of the person who is the average Muslim. Right? You're talking about a person who not very seeking knowledge and stuff like that. When you say you're not seeking knowledge, you don't mean that he has to be a big shape and those stuff. You mean that he's not in the process of seeking knowledge and reading books and understanding and studying books and like that and studying Arabic. Okay? So we don't mean by seeking knowledge that you have to go to Saudi Arabia or Libya or Pakistan. We don't mean that. We mean that he's not in the process of sitting down and in Arabic and in books and in Fiqh from sources and things like that. Talking about that, right? So not necessarily that the person knows something, okay? Now, so it's impossible because the average Muslim who come back as a pretty much, etc., like that, right? Even if he says that Islam, okay, but what are the conditions of the soil and what is this one? Because he doesn't know. And because he hasn't studied the mother. To say that you're already Hanafi or Shafi or whatever, that means you have had to study the mother and study the books of the mother. Understand? That's very important. So it's impossible to ask the average Muslim, but that means that you would have studied the mother. Right? So the student of knowledge or the scholar follows the mother once the sunnah, right, hasn't been made clear to anyone regarding the issue. Right? So the mother is like a buffer. If you don't know, and that is what you have, you take it. Because the scholarship is based upon the statement of a scholar. However, if there's a clear hadith that goes against the particular madhab or your particular madhab, you cannot take what your madhab says. You have to work with the hadith. And this is compulsory for the all the 4 imams. Even I have a book by Mufti Shabir from the early and the early. Right? I have it too. Where it is that he says that if this sunnah is still can't follow another, can't follow a particular mother, he says that. I think I said it to you now. Yes, I said it to you now. Right? He's clear and explicit on that. Yeah, people are saying, that's what the need to get on that thing. But if you look at what Shabir is upon and what some people these days are upon, it's 2 entirely different things. Allah understand. Hence, taqleed, or what people call blind following, is according to one's status and knowledge. So, for example, if it is, for example, so the more knowledge you have to distinguish between, if you have knowledge of usul al-fiqh, the foundations of fiqh, knowledge of the strict and the hadith, etc., the less you would make taqleed, the less you would blindfold, right? You know, the less you would blindfold, right? However, for the person who might be a student of knowledge, but he sees the hadith clear as day and night, that the hadith says so and so, and the hadith is authentic, and everybody says it's authentic, then he cannot follow the mother, regardless, right? He cannot follow the mother at all, regardless. He has to follow the hadith. Right? Once it is clear and explicit, even if it goes against the statement of a particular scholar. Right? So we have to understand that. Okay? Now, clear, inshallah, right? So they know the foundations for you all right there. So to continue, say around the 8th century after the Hijrah, this phenomenon of madhab partisanship began. Right? This phenomenon of being a fanatic of the madhab began. And in fact, another particular scholar is to call him Majnun Abi Hanifa. Right? So the other long time called about a man who called Laila. And they support the man Majnun Laila. Right? And crazy man Laila. Right? And the poet said, وَكُلٌّ يَدَّعِي وَصْلٌ بِلَيْلَ وَلَيْلَ لَمْ تَكِلْهُ لَهُ بِذَاكَ. And everybody said it's a Laila, and Laila said, no, I'm the fellows. So that's Laila. Right? So you have people who were like Majnun Abi Hanifa. Right? And we'll go through that inshallah. Right? But from the 8th century, we went to the major principles that they have. Number 1, They say that it does its jihad, or fiqh, in other words, understanding the evidences of the Quran and the Sunnah, and try to make a ruling from it. They say that goes shut, it's done. Right? All you must do is follow a particular imam. And nobody ever said that before. Right? Even these scholars who studied a particular madhab, like Muhammad Nawawi, who was studied the Shafi'i madhab, or Ibn Taymiyyah, who was studied the Hanbali madhab, etc., you would find at times that they would go against their own madhab. They would use the analysis and the understanding and look at the evidences and bring about a particular ruling based upon what they understood from it. Right? But now they were saying, you cannot do it anymore. You must follow one of the madhab, and that's it. You cannot go further than that. Right? And if you really look at it, in the madhab itself, you might have 2 different opinions, 3 different opinions, even 4 different opinions sometimes in one particular madhab. So you still need a point of ijtihad. Right. 2, that taqleed was compulsory, that you have to blind follow totally without questioning anything. And number 3, it was compulsory to follow only one of the 4 madhab. So you cannot take any statements from Qawri or Zahri, none of them. You have to follow one of the 4, and that is it. Right? So this led to fighting even more among madhab partisans, and extremely eccentric fatwa. Extremely eccentric fatwa. Right? From it, you hear fabricated ahadith that, that some of the Hanafis used to say that there will come a man, the Prophet Prophet said this alive, that come that there would be a man called Muhammad ibn Idris, who are Ashad ibn Idris, and he is worse than Idris. Muhammad ibn Idris al-Shafi'i. And Muhammad ibn Idris al-Shafi'i, who did he take from? He took from Muhammad al-Shafi'i, and this is Abu Hanifa. Right? And so they would say things like this. And they would say that Abu Hanifa is a rat of the Ummah. Likewise, they would come and say certain things like, for example, that Hanafi cannot pray. They would say, for example, that Hanafi cannot pray behind a Shafi'i. And some would say that a Hanafi could, they can't pray behind a Shafi'i. And some of them said that a Hanafi cannot marry a Shafi'i. Some of them said they could marry a Shafi'i because they're like Ahlul Kitab. Muslims, right? That they are like people of the book. Right? They would go to that kind of extreme extent. One of them even said that when Isa alayhi salam comes down, he's going to judge by the Hanafi Mujazafat, Mashakil. That's how bad an actor. That something wrong with your head. Right? So, and some even reach to the point of speaking ill of somebody's Sahaba. I heard some of them on tape. Not myself, I heard them on tape speaking ill of Abu Hurairah. Speaking ill of somebody's Sahaba who narrated a hadith, say that they have no fiqh. Real nonsense and extremism. To the point that you will find that in the Haram, as is illustrated in this book, possibly to pass it around, inshallah ta'ala, have the picture, mashallah. Right? In this book, by Pastor Torah, you had the places for the former Dahab, they created different places in the Haram, in Makkah, before Ali Saruk came and demolished that. So you had the Maliki prayer place, the Hanbali prayer place, the Shafi'i prayer place, and the Hanafi prayer place. So everybody called they separate Adhan, they separate Iqamah, they separate Salah, they separate Jum'ah. Everything. Everything. That is where the partisanship and the madness reached to. And if you really look, during that time was the time of what? like what was happening during the 17th and 18th and 19th century. Somebody was trying to encroach upon the Muslim lands. Who?
Crusaders?
Huh?
Crusaders?
No, the Crusaders came long time ago. The British and the French, right? Especially the British. The usual suspects, right? They're still the usual suspects up to this day. You see that by the time you appreciate it, as I say, we are with you, sir. They say, because they use this thing, right? But we are with you. They are the usual suspects, right? Every year with Balfour and Skyspeaker and that kind of thing, they are, every time they find a period is up, just look for Britain and France and Italy, right? So they were now encroaching upon Muslim lands. So the British, you'll find that they would encroach on Palestine, right? And eventually they will take Palestine. And other Muslim lands in between, and lands where it had a lot of Muslims as well, right? So like places like Nigeria, places like parts of Eastern Africa, etc. like that. The French, they had a bigger, scope in terms of that. So they took parts of North Africa, Algeria, Tunisia, Morocco, all over the place, right? So colonialism spread. I mean, we can see why colonialism spread. Because of the weakness of the Muslims in terms of the religion, partisanship, and the craziness, and the shirk, and the innovation, and people, being fanatics of their particular way and not reaching it to the soul because it's just about why they must have done. So when it is that you have weakness in me, it's easier for the enemies of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to come in and make their abad and make their problems. And do things different and center to the Muslims.
Who did I live with before that
Ali Saud, the Saudis. When Abdul Aziz Ali Saud, who's the father of Fahd, Faisal, Salman, all of them, right? He basically did a bit of that when he took the Asians.
But who schooled it here?
No, well, I mean, all Muslims picked behind it, but they were more handling in orientation. But he made sure to put one imam for the Salah and one imam for the khutbah. Right? That was it. He put one imam for the Salah, one imam for the khutbah. And like with the Saudis themselves, they adopt the Hanbali school, but they're not staunch at it. So you find that like Sheikh Ibn Mubarak, Sheikh Ibrahim, Sheikh Fawzan, Sheikh Ibrahim and the Sheikh. You'll find that they would have studied the Hanbali madhab, but when they read their books and what they do, kind of a lot of fatwa, what they do, it goes contradictory to the madhab itself. Right? So they're not staunch, right? So if a person could follow a madhab, however, they shouldn't be staunch partisans to the particular madhab. Some of them used to even say, some Malikis used to say, for example, Lawla Malik, Lakana Dinu, Halik. If it wasn't from Malik, the deen would have been destroyed. It's kind of crazy stuff. There's a lot of crazy things. I remember I read a book some time ago, and that what Isa would come, etc. like that. He would come in and he would open a box and he would see a book of Hanafi fiqh and he would have that. A lot of horror, a lot of craziness around this time. Right? And that corresponded with the Sufism and the great worship and that. There's all kinds of stuff went through there, right? Okay? Okay, so this is the last part of madhab partisanship. Alright, so there are familiar names who fought madhab partisanship. From them was Sheikh Islam ibn Taymiyyah. Sheikh Islam ibn Taymiyyah, he studied Hanbali fiqh and of course he was in the era where it wasn't so widespread. So people would study a madhab, but they wouldn't be staunch upon it. In other words, once they had the level to make ijtihad or effort regarding the evidences, they would go the evidences, right? And that was a staple amongst the scholars at that time, like Sheikh al-Islam, Imam Nawawi, Ibn Abidin, Ibn Abdul Bar, that was the norm amongst them. Although they would have studied on madhab, in the beginning when they studied, when they began to seek knowledge, they would stick to it, right? Staunchly, right? So Sheikh al-Islam Ibn Taymiyyah, he fought it staunchly during his time, and he was a person who fought for independent ijtihad. In other words, that you could actually go forth and derive evidence from the book of Allah, the Sunnah of the Messenger sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, once you were qualified. So basically, these people, they saw that, okay, so they saw that the door of ijtihad was not closed. And this is the correct view. The door of ijtihad is never closed. Right? The door of ijtihad is never closed. Right? So it's not that you have to stick to a particular statement of a scholar. But once it is that you have the ability to go through the Quran and the Sunnah, and you have the principles of fiqh, the principles of language, etc., like that, then you can make ijtihad and look at the different statements of the scholars. Okay? So we had Sheikh al-Islam Ibn Taymiyyah. Sheikh al-Islam Muhammad ibn Abdul Wahhab as well, we have this guy for him, right? He as well was one of them who preached that the door of ijtihad was closed. And he was also, he studied the Hanbali madhab as well, but he advocated not staunchly, abiding by it. Okay? And he also wrote books on the Hanbali madhab as well. Of course, he's more known for Tawheed and preaching Tawheed. When the Arabian Peninsula, when it says that people used to go by the graves and call upon the dead, and people do that, you know, and that eventually led one thing gets on, and we have more, all kinds of stuff that happened afterwards. Right? It's a very history class of probably back then. Also, to go through the right? Imam Shawkani, Imam Shawkani, he wrote several books of fiqh. From them is Nail al-Awtar. And also Ad-Darar al-Bahiyya. Imam Shawkani is very unique, right? In terms of that he was not followed any other. Right? This is why I say it's not compulsory to follow particular method at all. Right? He basically took evidences. Of course, he looked at his statements of the Fuqahas and the scholars before. Right? So it's not like he make up his own thing. Okay? So he can't make up your own thing at the same time. But what happened, you look at his statements of the scholars before, and you choose which one is the strongest one according to what you see from your particular analysis. Right? So he in particular didn't have a particular method, and he was also known for fighting against Shirka bid'ah in Yemen. Right? And a lot of scholars who don't ascribe to a madhab in India, Pakistan subcontinent, as well as in Yemen as well, they take a lot from the fiqh of Imam Shawkani. Right? And then you have Shah Waliullah Dehlawi, I'll show you that name already. Shah Waliullah Dehlawi, what he wrote a book called Hujjatullah Baligha al-Insaf, which basically he spoke against madhab opposition. Other people don't tell, they'll say, Shah Waliullah Dehlawi said so and so, but he won't tell you that he wrote a book called Hujjatullah Baligha when he spoke against madhab opposition. And he spoke against it very severely. Right? And then you had Hassan Ali, who was also Yemeni as well, and he did completed for a particular madhab as well, and he wrote a book called Subul Salam, which is the explanation of Bulugh al-Maram, right? A famous hadith book, Bulugh al-Maram, by Ibn Hajar. And also he wrote an explanation about Abdul Akram as well. And he did follow a particular method as well. Right? So basically, they were more known to try their best to take the different rulers straight from the Ahadith and the Quran, of course, based upon these statements of different scholars. Right? Now, right? So you find that in terms of them, I'm speaking specifically about Sanani and Shawkani, you will find that a lot of people from Yemen and India, who will call it Alan Hadith of India, they take a lot from their fiqh. In fact, you'll find that Sadiq Hassan Khan, he wrote a book called Al-Ratul Nabiya, which is an explanation of Al-Ratul, right? So you find that they take a lot from their fiqh, right? People give the picture that Indians will be Jamaican Tabligh and this one. But we have a lot of people who are strictly on the Ahadith of the Rasul in India, right? In fact, it's one of the coming about, you don't know about the talk at all. They don't hear it, right? So you'll find that, you have this segment as well, and you'll find that as well that they, Shawkani and As-San'ani, they influenced these influenced scholars all over the world. So for example, you find out the scholars of KSC of Saudi Arabia and the scholars of Kuwait as well, right? And whoever takes from them, they benefit a lot from Imam Shawkani and As-San'ani, because they studied books like Nebel Autab in the University of Medina, and they also studied Subul Salam in the University of Medina as well. Okay? So they have a big influence on these scholars who might have begun their study with the Hanbali madhab. They take from them. So they themselves, San'ani and Shawkani, they have a very big influence in terms of modern fiqh. After these statements of these scholars, up to date, it is based upon what Shawkani, San'ani, and Ibn Taymiyyah have said. Now, in terms of, there's some further clarify, in terms of Shawkani and As-San'ani, you'll find that their statements are mostly from, plenty, they take plenty from Ibn Taymiyyah, and also Ibn Hazm. Right? And Ibn Hazm was Zahiri. You know that he was Zahiri mother. Now, Ibn Hazm was a type of irregular genius. In other words, he didn't study this method from learning. He took up the books, studied himself, and became like an imam in it. That's irregular. That don't happen like that. Right? So he was like what you call Akari in Arabic. He was like a big genius. And when you read his books, like Akafi Usul al-Akam, and his thick book as well, you will see his genius. But what happened in his books he have a lot of pressure. Very. So he would speak ill of Imam Malik at times and speak ill of this Imam. So that is inappropriate. You shouldn't speak ill of the Imam at all, right? But they are also planning to have this year, right? But he was an irregular genius in terms of that. Because usually you find the likes of Ibn Taymiyyah that studied Hanbali fiqh, Ibn Hajar, who wrote the explanation of Bukhari, Muslim, Fatul Bari. He would have studied Shafi'i fiqh, etc. But he just took up the books and started studying the man. And all the people of Najr, all of Ahlul Ilm, they bear witness of his knowledge regarding fiqh and regarding Muslim fiqh and regarding Hadith as well. Right? So Shawkani and As-San'ani is mostly Ibn Taymiyyah and Ibn Hazm. You will see their statements are very similar too. Right? And also, you have the likes of Imams. Many scholars in modern times have returned to the Sunnah and Hadith studies, including Imams Ibn Baz, well, we know them. Right? He's very recent. He died in the year 1999, I believe. Right? That's quite recent. Al-Albani, he died in 1999 as well. Ibn Baz, he would have studied the Hanbali madhab, right? But as I said, influenced by Ibn Taymiyyah, Ibn Hazm, Shawkani, and Al-Sanani, because he was studying these books as well. Sheikh Al-Albani, Lord Sheikh Al-Albani, he was another irregular genius. Because at first he was, his father was a Hanafi scholar who studied in Turkey and came back to Albania. And when the communists took over Albania, he went to Syria. And what happened is that Al-Albani, he learned hadith studies by himself. Right? They started with a piece of paper, and then he started to sit from the library, and then he gathered all the hadith and it and went through it. So he basically studied science and hadith by himself, but what happened is that all the imams of hadith in his time and afterwards bore witness of his genius in hadith at the end of the day. So, I mean, it's not really recommended to study by yourself, right? It's better to study it at a shape, of course, but at the end of the day, if it is that a person studies by himself, and the scholars bear witness of the scholarship, we cannot say anything after that, and say all kinds of things, right? So Sheikh Al-Albani, again, you would find that Ibn Baz, I'll put it in perspective like this. So Ibn Baz, you would find from the fiqh of Imam Ahmad, Shawkani, Sanani, and Ibn Hazm, right? And you'll find the same thing of Ibn Taymiyyah. Right? Now, in the case of Al-Albani, or this father was Hanafi, he based his fiqh more on history, Shawkani, Sanani, and Ibn Hazm. But the books he recommends is the books of Imam Shawkani to read, right? So is more Shawkani, Sanani, and Ibn Hazm. Alright, and Muqbil Ibn Hadi. Muqbil Ibn Hadi. He is the Imam of Yemen. He died in the year 2001, I believe it was. Again, because Muqbil Ibn Hadi, he grew up as a Shia. He grew up as a Shia. And was Zaidi, not the Rafala. Right? So he grew up as a Zaidi Shia. And he wanted to seek knowledge, and his mother told him, but he ended up, later in his life, but earlier in his life actually, he went to study grammar, and then he went to Saudi Arabia after he was looking at a God in the Haram, actually. And he would go, when he didn't have God, during the shift was over, he would go and study with these scholars there. And then, after a while, he got admitted into the University of Medina, where he studied Dawah. He studied the College of Dawah, Islamic Propagation. I said, we could do Sharia at the same time. Right? So he was studying Dawah and Sharia for the term, and then Dawah during the summer. Right? And then he got his master's degree from there, and he came back to Yemen. He said that he was hoping that he people coming back to Yemen, he would crash, he would come back to Yemen. Right? He was looking for what he down and actually crash. Yes, serious. Because what happened, he was deported from Saudi Arabia because he was accused of trying to hatch a revolution with some people called, Juhayman. Now, Juhayman was claimed to be the Mahdi at the time. That was in 1979 when they did the Haram and Pakistan started to come in and clear them out and things like that, right? So they accused him as being one of the persons who orchestrated it, right? Not orchestrated, but one of the fellows used to teach them, and he used to teach some of them, but not the ideology. So they kicked him out of Saudi Arabia, and he ended up in Saudi, which is Shia, Surf, right? So what happened is that he began teaching children, I just began teaching, and then one student came, and next one, until this numbers get big in the match. Right? To the point where it is that a lot of the students memorize Sahih Bukhari, Sahih Muslim, Tirmidhi, Nasai, Imagine the Quran, you name it, they memorize it. Unfortunately, due to the Houthi rebels, yes, the Houthis are mentioned in there, right? Because of the fact the Houthis are separating and telling people, we are sending missiles to Saudi, and the missiles are distributed in Egypt and in Jordan, right? Outside to Saudi, to Israel. And the missiles ended up in Jordan and Egypt, right? I think you also saw that the Yemeni government is at war with Israel or something like that. You saw that? Is that the official Yemeni government? Is a group called the Houthis. They are roughly Shia. And basically, right, what happened before they got in power was that they were trying to take the religious Sheikh Mukbil for a while. In the first war, 30 students for a brother who was actually there. They were at the top of a mountain and they were coming up the hill. But they said, alhamdulillah, they had a brother who was an ex-Navy SEAL with them. I just commanded them to let this shoot. The same morning, about 8 of them died, and I had hundreds of bodies in front of them on the ground. But the second war now, they were firing artillery, which they got from Iran, by the way, right? They were firing artillery into the village, killing women, children, men, etc. So they had to end up sending a treaty, getting out of the march, right? So when they say Baratin now Hassan Nasrallah, who telling you, well, I'm not going to attack Israel until they attack Lebanon, and then this one saying people send them a side of there, and then put it in Egypt, and take go listen to them. Right? They're just wasting people's time. Right? Now, so basically, his students, Sheikh Mukbil's students are very well known. Some of them actually came here, one of them came in this structure actually. Sheikh Abdulhamid al-Hajuri, years ago, but that's like over 10 years ago. He came here and we did a class. Yeah. So, alright, so basically, we went up to this era. Are there any questions before we go into the major books of the Madhab? How do you books of the Madhab? Any questions?
So where at this stage was to the point of where Bukhari came along? Bukhari.
Imam Bukhari? He would have come along like after the time of Imam Ahmad. Like he was one of the students of Imam Ahmad. So he would have studied under him, but he also studied under many scholars of Ijtihad and Fiqh. But Imam Ahmad was a scholar of Ijtihad and Fiqh as well. Right? So you find in this book, he was a very independent scholar. So some of the statements would go according to the madhab of Imam Ahmad. Some of them would go according to the statements of Imam Malik. Some of them, a few of them actually would go according to the statements of Imam Abu Hanifa as well. Right? So you find that the scholars like Imam Tirmidhi, Imam Bukhari, etc., were very independent in terms of how it is that they would approach them. Right? So it is not like they had a particular method in other words. Right? Any questions?
Sheikh, the locals that go to Saudi to study, what they study, what Makan follow?
Alright.
What do Makan teach?
Alright, that's a good question. Now, what happened is that long ago, you can say long ago, you should study a book called Bidayatul Mujtahid. Bidayatul Mujtahid is a book with all the madhab on the face of the earth. All. Right? So it has a Maliki madhab, Shafi'i madhab, Hanbali madhab, Hanafi madhab, this one, that one, the other one, right? Sayyidina Imam Awza'i, Sufyan, all of them. Right? So what happens is a teacher will teach the book, and basically he will say that this is the part, this is the strongest opinion. Because, I mean, people came from different countries, and, different madhab as a result, so we teach that particular book. Now they teach the Hanbali method. They teach, and this happened only like about 4 or 5 years ago, in Medina in particular, right? So they study now a book called Around the World, which is an explanation of a book called Around the Stock. So they study the Hungary method now. That's in Medina. But Medina now used to teach all the method, right, in one book. In Makkah and in Riyadh, they teach more the Hungary method. But they don't teach it in a way where it is that you have to be staunch to it. In other words, they teach it as a base where it is that you could use to understand it. So it's not going to be beyond and ignoring all this stuff.
So this is where they review the syllabus, they take them review the syllabus in these schools and so on.
I mean, plus,
For all, everybody is same thing.
yeah. No, but Quran, it was always studied on the movement. But Medina, I guess, I mean, because I want to be very, I want to be very factual being, whether people think that I've been in some certain others. Right? What happened is that certain books that used to teach now, they stop teaching it. Alright, so for example, we take a book in science of life. So you have the book, let me see. Cerebral. Sorry, cerebral. Alright, so Mukaddima. We saw that. Cerebral, Taisir, Mustala. Mustala, Hadith, and I will tell you the last one, which is PowerPoint. But that's not the PowerPoint is a good spot. I'll show you something, right? Now, when Sharia now started, and you can ask brothers who went Sharia long ago, they were doing Mukaddima and Musala, which is like a very strong book in sense of that. Then they say, well, that's too hard for the students. They go to Tadribo, it's just not a strong book. It's almost as strong as Mukaddima and Musala. Because it's an explanation of a Tadribo, no, it was an explanation. Then when I was there, they did what Taisir Mustalah Hadith. Mustalah Hadith is a good book, but honestly, it's not college level. You understand what I'm saying? It's not college level. College level is like, understand?
Like kindergarten.
No, not kindergarten, but it's like more like, it will say upper six, it will say upper six. But it's not like university level books there. Yeah. And then, now, for what I is PowerPoints. Slides.
But
I mean, because what happened, I'm not putting down the job, they did not good job, but what happened because they realized the students who come in, we can't tell that they kind of, and they did the same thing in Azhar. To go in Azhar long time, they had to be a half a Quran to go to college. Now they started to memorize a few jewels and they go to college now, but they had to go in Azhar college, they had to memorize the Quran. And they had to study a method inside out. You had to study Arabic language grammar. So a person who was from Assam, who finished high school in Assam, is kind of like a shaker. They was already teaching them massage and teaching books and things already. While going to college. But now they want to know the syllabus. All that. And I mean, I understand why they do it, but it's not the best thing to do. It's not the best thing to do what you can do. Because what happens is that they find that students will get weaker in terms of the principles. Because you have to go through some kind of hardship, some kind of difficulty when it is that you seek knowledge. So if it is that you go kind of wrapping your brain around, this is a good thing. You know what I mean?
So when you know graduate is that you're not ready to study it?
Yeah, basically.
How would you compare the students coming out of Medina and Quran as to those students coming out of South Africa, India, Pakistan?
Alright. Well, what happened is that the syllabus from India and Pakistan and what is good in, actually check the syllabus something, right? They actually, in some places, they have very good syllabus, right? But what happens is that in these places, unfortunately, in India, Pakistan, and most of these schools, they teach you how to apply for Ramadan. So if they confront another person who is not applying for Ramadan, starts to confront them with the science of hadith planting, although they might have learned these principles in hadith planting, they throw it behind their back for the Ramadan. So even when they confronted that time, they realize what are we going on here? You know, so understand. So I mean, everywhere a person would go, right? Anywhere a person goes, he would be able to benefit. Whether it's India, whether it's Saudi Arabia, whether it's Yemen, whether it's wherever, right? Most of the times that he goes there with ikhlas and to benefit and to learn, he will learn. It doesn't really matter where it is every person goes in particular, right? However, what happens is that the reality is because, and it's not me speaking about it, it's Sheikh Abdul Nasser spoke about it, Sheikh Saleh Sohaili spoke about it. In fact, he complained about it. He told Sheikh Saleh, of course, in a seminar, that, well, look, we say, and he was next, he said, right, Sheikh Saleh Sohaili is blind to them. He said they have teachers who give the students revision books and they're not teaching the book. He could have said that very seriously. He said, they're not teaching the book at all. And he had it. And Sheikh Fawzan said, well, yeah, teachers, they have to teach the book. Well, why is this going to be in school? Right? And this one mentioned on the PowerPoints. You understand? So you have to teach the books. You have to teach the books. The students go to the books and understand the time. Because if it's about college, if it's high school level, okay, maybe. But college level, you have to come up with a certain caliber. I mean, that's just me, huh?
A lot of iftar that exists in the West here, the various Jamaat have to do with the students that come up from either the Park region or the Saudi region.
I mean, what happens is that at the end of the day, people have to learn how to deal with certain differences. I mean, if it's in effect, there's one issue. I mean, because I heard brothers sometimes, they make an issue of a person putting their hand, they really stop, they really give them that thing. I mean, are they making fun of it? I sat listening, but I told them that this is a position of the handling method as well. So, I mean, come on. I mean, if it's in terms of Akida is the red line. That's a cut of Akida. If a person coming and saying that Allah is not above the throne and it could go by and bring and come upon the dead and kind of thing, that's a red line in that sense. Right? But when it comes to certain issues, you don't really make a big fitna over it. Right? And you'll find that a lot of the issues, unfortunately, in Trinidad sometimes is based more upon fiqh than, I would say, Akida issues or issues of revelation.
More or less on the understanding of the fact.
Exactly.
Because I have had Ghana and children have more or less the same thing.
Mhm.
The same that.
Correct.
I have had people refusing to, and I have people who perform Salah behind me because they realized the way I was performing Salah, they say it is not Hanafi. And they went back and prayed the Salah over a day after, and they refused, someone refused to pray behind because of this we are not Hanafi. We don't follow our Hadith because of the Rafetai and where you place your hand on your chest and so on.
Exactly.
It's not because of the misunderstanding or lack of understanding, I think.
Yeah.
Because for what we have learned for the past couple of years, it has nothing to do with those things, have nothing to do with it.
Exactly. Right? And even you'll find that a scholar may have a position, right? So a scholar might say, eating camel's meat, it breaks food. I believe that's the position of the Shafi'i. And others, no, the position of Ahmad ibn Hanbal and others, right? And some scholars will say that eating it does not break food. I believe that's the position of the Shafi'i. And they will pray behind each other. And this is an issue about what drinks you will do. So, I mean, what's that one? I remember one time, right, I gave off a Malala Masjid. And I was wearing cotton socks, right? Although my masjid was in a place where there was high crime, right? So I talk about the guns and this and that and that and that. Well, after that, I was the government take off for anything obviously, right? Yeah, because I talk too much now. And I said, fellas, and because these fellas who had the guns and had the thing and whatever, they basically sometimes they tell me much respect because of the money idea. Right. Anyway, so after the khutbah, well, men walk out, like it was some kind of funeral, that that's what passed or something like that. There was next mass streets, or kind of thing like that. But eventually, within, say, like about less than a month, they had plenty coming down there. So, around this less, that's all we went before. And after the khutbah, man pointed to my sons. And he said, you make wudu before you put on them socks? I watch him. But sometimes I was getting hostile now. The thing is, right? My name kind of precedes me because of incidents like that. You know what? When people hear Musa, they think, okay, they give fire brigade buster dragon for me to fire to pieces, right? So I say, all right. This afternoon, after Maghrib, I'll bring in my books. I'll go home, I'll bring my books. I'll open them. Now, them is old editions of Hanafi books, so I open them. It says here that the fatwa of the Hanafi madhab, according to the Mu'tamad, according to the strongest opinion, is that they can work over the concepts. This is in Hidayah, this is in Nurul, this is that. What you have to say now? You get quiet. You say, well, I can't know what to translate in this purpose. Say, okay, I know. So people know, so whenever they call it incidents like that, because after I talk about football, people come and cry, people ask me that. Come on, man. You know,
Just wanted to go forward one more regarding the stocks. Is there a certain number of times you're allowed to make good with the stocks on? Possibility or meaning like okay for those who right so somebody have to be asked on the outside before you get into your own masjid.
right.
How many times are you allowed to do over the socks to not keep rid of them before it becomes
Okay. So for like for the person who's not traveling, he has some forms from the time he puts it on. Right? So say for example, he makes wudu. Right? And 2 hours later, he puts on his socks. The time starts from when he puts on his socks, not from the time he makes wudu. So when he puts on his socks now, he has 24 hours to wipe over. So every time you break your wudu, I put on a fresh wudu to wipe over. Right? So I mean, like in fact, you have to have that tolerance in terms of it. Right? But some places, I mean, I had a brother who was from Afghanistan. You see, some of them brothers from Afghanistan, they're using dedicated Hanafi fanatics too, but some of them. He said that, you know, like he saw incidents where it is that men get licks for putting their hand in their chest. Like, yeah, they had hit, Julie Salai. Like, they had hits. Like, they finger hits when it is that they put their finger straight. Yeah. So I mean, people should have that type of thought, and this is where education is important. Right? Once people are educated that the former that they don't contradict or they don't have war with each other, but they complement each other, and they add something special to the heritage of Islam, then they will be open to, you know, when it is that they see people with different practices. But once they have the attitude that is this was bust, then men go hit you and you have for this, men will break behind you, men will say all kind of thing and whatever else. I mean, that's totally incorrect. And you know, sometimes we have to, you know, at times we have to confront people like that who do this and say, well, actually, you know, this is why I said in this particular matter, what is the issue here? What is the issue here? What is the issue here? Understand what I mean?
And that's where the knowledge comes in. Because that situation has created a lot of serious war. Even in Guyana, while studied there. the Imam, the ignorance level of Imam, ignorance. You go and say Ameen and go, Imam,
Yeah,
turn around. Stop this salah, turn around. Who said that? What the fight?
That actually happened with Princess Tom some years
That
ago.
happened with me and
Yeah,
Guyana.
that's okay.
I studied. They want to fight. In the masjid before the salah even finish.
Isn't said Amin in the Quran?
Yeah.
Is it all about?
Exactly. Yeah,
But I think
it's
this same issue with schools of thought. Which one says the Prophet to say the law, which one says the
You kind of a story in Princess Town. You know, that's how some of us go from over to the other question. They pray this song and they say, Amen. During this song, they man turn around, you out.
Seriously. Yeah?
I don't do that, man. I mean, it's our dream. You know, it's very, very strange. So I mean,
The level of ignorance and what does that?
yeah, and what happens is for the people who have the responsibility, and this is the whole thing, right? Every people are sheikhs or muftis or mawlanas. It's not like me and the scheme, right? Okay, but there's like sheikhs, muftis or mawlanas, right? They have the kind of authority. They should teach the people, and you see them should use books, you see them muftis should use books, and have the same problem. You see that kind of tolerance. That they need to teach the people that, hey, that if a person is practicing, but it comes from a different background, it's not an issue. Even in should I go to, right? That I learned later. And have a brother, he stopped coming because he said, well, he's hungry and I said that wrong, and I don't put that behind me.
Ignorance.
It's like, okay, but I'm Muslim, you know, I practice in Quran and Sunnah. You know, what's that? You know, so, you know, it's that the people who have the authority, they have to teach the people that all these things could be tolerated, all these things are from fiqh, right? None of it will take away your ibadah or your blessings or your salah or anything like that. Because, you know, people will have a more, honestly, a more restful environment, you know, more tolerant environment because they take. That's seven akidas in your life. Right? But it's a fiqh. I mean, you have to have a little bit more, you know, tolerance and a little bit more, what to say, flexibility, as they would say. Right? So we're going into, right, a particular thing, right, in terms of the Hanafi madhab. And you want to take a little minute before we start? Or is it almost half past? Right. Okay, I'm just going to do this very quickly, right? And particularly to books that we find in Trinidad, right? So we look into the madhab of Abu Hanifa, or Hanafi madhab, right? Now, we wanted to be students at one point, right? So, right, so that's a little bit Hanafi madhab. Maybe I should tell you more in two parts. So I'll put Hanafi madhab here and Hanafi madhab here because people tend to follow it in Trinidad and they don't know that they're already following it. Right? So Hanafi madhab. And Hanbali madhab, right? Possibly you can take a picture of it after, but I'm going to put it on these slides afterwards, inshallah. Right. So the Hanafi madhab, you have a book called, now, just to clarify, each madhab has a particular book where most of the text of every single text of the madhab comes from afterwards. So they take from a particular book. Right? In the case of the Hanafi madhab, we start with it. Right? It's a book called Zahirul Riwayat. Zahirul Riwayat. Which is like 6 books, right? And this was written by Muhammad Ash-Shaybani, right? Who's the student of Abu Hanifa, right? Alright, so I'm going to just give you all a little glimpse of how it works, right? So this is 6 books that contain the Fiqh of Abu Hanifa. Understood? These are 6 books that contain the fiqh of Abu Hanifa. Right? Understand? So, after the riwayat, you find several different books come from it. Right? So, I have a book that is not studied in Trinidad, right? Called Summary of Tahawi. Right? Now, this is the first small text in fiqh, right? So you say first text. This is the first text in Hanafi fiqh. But this is not the Aqidah treatise. You know, I have Aqidah Tahawiyah. The Aqidah of Imam Tahawi. This is not the Aqidah Imam Tahawi with a fiqh book. And this is the summary of Tahawi. Right? But it's not popular. Right? It's not popular among Hanafi. Right? So let's go to this view, right? You have another book which is used not really in Trinidad, but it's available in Trinidad now. Right? Summary of Kuduri. Right? And this is a text that is used, let's put it, right? So this is a text that is commonly used in some of the Dara rooms and whatnot like that as well, right? Not in Trinidad, but it's used in some of the Dara rooms and plenty of the Hanafi schools, right? So summary of Kuduri. Okay? So that it takes from where? Ghana Riwayat. And this is written around the 5th century Hijra. Right? So let's put 5th century. 5th century age. So this summary of Kuduri. Right? And this text is still used up to this day, right? Alright. Now we're going to get it a little bit complicated now. Right. As
You
we
mean
first-
what's complicated?
No, we have very shared. Let's see. Alright. So the third one I'm going to inform you of is, right? Okay. Tanwir al-Absar. And then from that, you have the explanation called Ad-Durar al-Mukhtar. And then you have the Hashia side notes of Ibn Abidin. This book is extremely important book in Hanafi. Right? Ibn Abidin is called Ibn Haqiq Abdul Mada. You know, that easy person. He came in the middle period, and he came back in the, say, around the 7th, 8th century, and many of the Fatah have written instead. Right? So they would put a double tick behind. Right? We good so far? Right. So again, from the Riwayat, you have Tanwir al-Absar, which comes straight from it. You have the explanation of it, and then you have the side notes by Ibn Abidin, which is an important book in the Hanafi fiqh. Right? And I'm going through every single thing, right? So I'll skip at some stuff. Right? But I'll put the things that most of the books that people tend to use in Trinidad. Right? So this is the last one I'll do it because people don't necessarily use the others. Right? Right. So then you have Hidayah al-Mubtadi. Right? Bidayatul Muqtadi, right, which is from, right, Marwani. And an important book which is in our room here, which is Al-Hidayah. Right? Which is a very same person. Mal Ra Ni Abavanan Bhavana Bhavanan. Right? Hidayah is in the room here. And this is the main book is studied now. And this is the book is studied in 4, 7, and 4, 8 of the verses. Yeah. Right? Good? All this one, I put that one down, something. Right? Now, okay? And then I'll take one more. I'll take one more shot. Right, which some people use in Trinidad, or a sorted Darul's bookshop. Not really bookshop, but like what they sell for the students and stuff like that. So they have the book Al-Wafi, and from Al-Wafi they have Kanz. Kanz al-Daqa'iq, which is from Al-Nasafi. And Kanz al-Daqa'iq is like what you call this is what you call a summary of Al-Wafi. Right? So there's an explanation. Huh? This is a summary of this. And this comes from that. Right? And then you have, after the explanation, called Al-Nahad, Al-Ra'iq. Right? So explanation of Kanz al-Daqa'iq. Right? So, let's see. Right. So, these 4 books here, Al-Wafi, Bidayatul Muqtadi, Summary of Quduri, and Summary of Tahawi, right? They come directly from here. Right? This is an explanation of this. Right? This is a summary of this, and this is an explanation of this. Right? So this is a summary of this, and this is an explanation of this, right? This is a summary of this. Right? This is a summary of this. This is an explanation of this, and this is cycles of this. Understand? So what I'm saying is that all of them come basically from one source most of the time, and scholars just decided to sit down and summarize or explain or whatever else. But all of them come from one particular source. Right? Yeah. And what happened is that you will find within the madhab there are differences of opinion within the madhab itself. So in the Hanafi madhab, you will say call an imam, that means Imam Abu Hanifa. You will say Sahiban, that's Abu Yusuf and Muhammad al-Shaykani. You will see Mada, Zahir al-Riwayah, that means it is Imam Abu Hanifa and Abu Yusuf, like that. Right? So I'll give you an example. Abu Hanifa, rahmatullahi alayhi, he sees that if it is that one person sights the moon on a cloudy night, that the take is sighted. No, I'll say this for a reason, right? Abu Hanifa said that if the moon is seconded by one person on a cloudy night, we're going to have a controversy during Ramadan. Abu Hanifa said, if the moon is seconded on a cloudy night by one person, it is taken. Abu Yusuf and Muhammad al-Shaybani, they said that if it's that it is seconded by one person, right, it's taken as well. Now, in terms that if it is a cloudless night, if it's a clear night, Abu Hanifa said one person is enough. Abu Yusuf and Muhammad al-Shaybani said you have to have a group of people. So you have ikhtilaf in the madhab, right there. Right? And it's even Hidayah is there. But what happens is that people don't really want to tell me, I don't know why they don't really educate people regarding these things. Right? But yeah, so regarding the controversy over moon sighting and the moon airport, that had nothing to do with Hanafi. Once it's sighted, even once the night is cloudy, or the Hanafi or the Hanafi scholars, if the place is cloudy, once you have one person who sees it, it is taken. Right? Just to make that clear. Allah will start. Right. So now, because what happened is that a certain Maulana made certain statements, and to a brother, and I asked him, I said, well, actually, they didn't, I said it back to the brother, and I said, look, right, ask him, what is your, do you have any statements on the Hanafi madhab? I said, no, you do so. Do you have any statements on the Hanafi madhab to support that? The brother said, not the Maulana said, not the answer, you wouldn't get that. I said, I will tell my phone up to this day. Allah will start. Right. Let me look at it. Now, yes. So in terms of the handling movement, you have this person called Al-Khalal, who wrote a book called Al-Jami'. Right? Al-Jami' basically is the statements of Imam Ahmad. Now, Imam Ahmad, or Imam Ahmad's, in the case of Muhammad al-Shaybani, he systemized the Zahir riwayat. In the case of Al-Khalal, he doesn't have those statements of Imam Ahmad. And these were from Su'alat, so the same students are mentioned like Akhram and Marwazi and thing. Al-Jami' is taken from the statements of the students of Imam Ahmad. So the questions that they would ask Imam Ahmad. And if you look at the questions, subhanAllah, you will see the type of water, type of caution that he will have. So sometimes he will be asked, although he knew 1 million things in narration, he would say, well, I'll check that back. I have to check that out. I have to see what it really says. I have to ask. So you will see that he has a lot of caution in terms of his given answer. So you have this from Al-Khalal, right? Now, straight from this, you have this book called Al-Kharaki, or Mukhtasar Al-Kharaki. Oh, what should I do now? Al-Kharaki. Right? And from Al-Kharaki, you have a book called Al-Mughni. Mughni of Ibn Qudama. Right? Ibn Qudama, who was from Quds or Jerusalem. Qudama. Mughni is a very famous book as an explanation of Al-Kharaki. So Al-Kharaki comes from Al-Jami'. Right. So now we have other books. Now, right. This one is a bit complex, so you have to get to it, so they will be able to show it, right? Alright. We have our map now. Right. Al-Maqna. Right. Al-Maqna is a book written by Ibn Qudama as well. Right? Now you have, let's see, how to put this. Alright, I'm going to put the arrow in this direction. Right? So you have the book that is used in Saudi Arabia right now. So Al-Maqna comes from Al-Jami', right? So then you have Zad. So this is a summary here, right? And let's put SUM as summary. And this is the explanation, EXP, right? So Zal al-Mustaqna, which is a very popular book in Saudi Arabia. It is the book, this is the go-to book in terms of the colleges right now. It's the book they go back to. Zal al-Mustaqna is a summary of this. Alright? Alright, so the summary here is Zadamo Statna, it is summary of Al-Makna, right? So we have Al-Khalaki, which is a summary of Al-Jami, and the explanation of Al-Khalaki is Al-Mughni, right? So now we have Al-Makna, which is a summary of Al-Jami, and the summary of Al-Makna is Al-Mustaqna, and the explanation, right? So the explanation of Zal, right, is called Aral al-Murber, which is used in Saudi Arabia as well, right? Aral al-Murber, written by al-Bahuti, and he is seen as the Imam of the Madhab of the later times, right? This is Imam al-Bahuti, right? Yeah, okay. All right, go ahead. So, yeah, this is where it gets kind of funny, right? So we have now, all right, I'll put Al-Insaf first, Al-Insaf. Again, they come from here, right? So, this is written by Al-Mardawi. Mardawi is from Egypt, right? And there's a mukhtasar, a summary at the end of it. It's called At-Tanqih, which is not very popular. Right? Okay. Before I go to that, I'll do this one. So then you have Al-Iqna. Which is written by Al-Hajjawi, who is from Yirabat, Syria, Lebanon, these places, right? Now, this is when it's going to get very, very nice. I don't know if it's really out here, right? Alright, good. Alright, so one of the, okay, so you have Ekna and you have Al-Insaf. Alright? And what happens is that you have a kind of combination here. I'm going to try my best to draw it. Alright? If I fail, tell me no, okay? Alright. Right. This is coming from here, good. Right. Again, kind of. Right. So we put an arrow right here. Another box. I was not an artist in school. Maybe out of school. So you have Muntaha and Irodat. Right? Basically. Right? So Muntaha and Irodat is seen as the major book. Many of the modern Patawa are taken from this. Muntaha and Irodat. Right? Which is written by Ibn Najjar. Yes, so Muntaha and Irodat now is a combination of Al-Maqna, Insaf, and Iqna. So you put all three together. And then you have the explanation. I put EXP. Alright, of Muntaha Irodat, which is called Shah Muntaha Al-Irodat by Al-Bahuti again. Yeah. So he writes Rawdun Murbe, and so these two books are very important. Rawdun Murbe and Muntaha Al-Irodat. Right?
These books are read in English or in Arabic?
Let me see. Zalal Mustaqna is in English. I'm not for sure. The rest? No. Right? The rest
We have plenty of Fuqahat in the US who don't know Arabic.
Yeah. And then you have, from Muntaha Al-Irodat, you have a next important, oh yeah. Yeah, I try to make it as uncomplicated as possible. You have Dalil Al-Talib, right? Which is by Mar'i Al-Karni. Right? Now, this became a major book in the Levant, right? In Syria, these places, and also in Kuwait. This is the go-to book. The go-to book in Saudi Arabia is this one, right? Which, and there are few issues where it is very different, right? So, Dalil al-Talib, as I know, Mustaqna, the major books where they take from, right? And these two, right? But basically, right? This is what the method is focused on basically. Muntaha Al-Irodat and Shah Muntaha Al-Irodat and Rawdun Murbe, right? Because both come from Al-Bahuti, right? Same person, right? So, yeah, basically, but just to put it in perspective, okay, let me just explain this as clearly as I could in Shah Muntaha. Possibly put it in a different color, it will make it easier. I'll put it in red. Right, I'll put it in red so it will distinguish everything. Right. I'm going to pick them. Right, I'll see what one here. So I'll try to be ready to make it as simple as possible. I'm still holding them artists. Right. So, alright, so we have 1, 2, and Shri. Right, coming together to form this. Right? Understand? So if the Najjar combine all these three to have this. And then from this, you have Mahuti again. Extended Rabbi Mulber and extended Mutaha Iranat. He also has a book called the Talmud as well, which is studied in Kuwait as well. Right? And then from Mutaha Iranat, Maria currently say, well, I'm going to write something based on Mutaha Iranat. Here is the Talmud, which is a very simple book. I have to do that. Right? So, yeah, basically. And they say that, like, basically, whatever these two agree, and Radawi and Ajawi agree on an issue, that is the matter. That is better. According to the matter, not according to, of course, the Quran is simple. But according to the matter, that is the strongest opinion. Once these two agree. Right? Well, so that way, inshallah. So basically, with the madhahib, the books of the madhahib, when you really look at them, to summarize, they are based upon possibly one book. And that one book, you take a summary of, and then from that summary, you have, well, all kind of things. You have explanations, you have summary of the summary, you have summary of the summary of the summary, then you have the explanation of the summary of the summary of the summary. There's all kind of things. But all that is to be heard, each other is showing you how the peak or how precise that the fuqaha or the scholars really took this, right? Now what happens too is that they find these books themselves, some of them, like Zadal Mustafa, for example, the Hanafi books are more or less very simple to read, as like in terms of the language, there's not a lot of ta'aqid. In other words, it doesn't have a lot of statements where it is that you read it and you have clear in your mind you read it. In terms of the Hanbali and the Maliki madhab or Musta, sometimes you read a sentence and it doesn't make, it hardly makes any sense. You have to read it like about 3 and 4 times to really get it. Right? Especially in the Maliki madhab, you read Mukhtasar, right? I'm just check back to the name correctly. Right, because I don't know as much about the Maliki as the Hanbali and the Hanafi madhab, but let me just check it just to be very quick. Right, number one, that's a bit of a cost, not really much. Right. Mukhtasar Khalil. Right, Mukhtasar Khalil is seen as the most complicated summary text ever. You have to really sit down and go through it one by one. Right? You know, and Zadal Mustafa is kind of like that. Yeah, it's kind of like that, and Mutahani Rodat is like that as well. But in the Talmud is very simple to do. Right?
What accounts for the difficulties in the understanding? Is it that the chain of narration back to its origin in the start? Why is it so difficult or so complicated? What makes it so difficult?
Okay, it's like this, right? With some of them, they try to summarize it so much that it's like you have to, it's like a chain and you have to break it, piece by piece. Right? Although it's the same thing that this one's saying, and this one's saying it in an easier fashion. Right? That's why other scholars, they prefer, especially those from Kuwait, they prefer that they study this book because it's easier to go through and understand these sentences are easier to go through. But this one, it comes like you have to, not really this one is like, this one, it comes like you have to break it sentence by sentence by sentence, and it comes like you're taking out 2 numbers and you put it here. Always say the same thing. Right? But what happens is that some scholars have the view that, you know, in order to really get fiqh, you have to
But these would be complicated with issues that deal with things that requires a lot of ijtihad, a lot of reduction.
Yeah.
Maybe it's, you know, normal fara'id and all these other issues are so straightforward.
Yeah.
So like for example, let me say for example, we want to deal with the issue of donation of body parts or something like that.
Yeah.
So this is issue that requires some ijtihad and
Ijtihad.
things. So this is where you might find some dissecting in
Yeah.
terms of which hadith, which ayah, which what, or where they're going to get it lyrics from. So the complexities of issues that require some deep thinking might require some of these issues.
No, but it's not really I'm talking about issues of Salah and
The issues of Salah to their circumstance.
they make it so summarized that it's like, when you read it the first time, it's like, what? You understand? So what happened is that some had the view, and I don't put some of these scholars they are against this view now, that, okay, you want to become a faqih, you want to make ijtihad on certain issues, alright. You're going to make it as hard as possible for you to reach there. So they make these sentences as difficult as possible. So when you read it, you handle it, you take care, you have to read it just 10 times and then, you know, break it apart and things like that. Even these sentences of issues, when you read the next book, is like, okay, that's the issue. You understand? So, I mean, that is a view that some scholars hold, but I mean, a lot of scholars, they don't hold that view anymore. They say simply better because this book has the same issues as this book or this book, for example, and it's done in a simpler manner.
And it's just more besides in fiqh.
Yeah. And also, I mean, people to go to the toilet because it's so simple. The Hanafi books are relatively simple because you can read it and it don't really complicate you as much. Right? It's very
I would have
straightforward.
thought they had a few a little more complex since there were so many issues in the Imam Hanifa to face with rather than the Maliki who had direct relation but also the link to the Sunnah and the Sahabas.
I mean, the madhab itself is not complex. Like this madhab is a little bit more complex. We're talking about the beginning text. Reading it is less complex because it's easier to read, right? Because they put things in full sentences where you can understand. Some of these is like Al-Mukhtasar Khalil especially. Allahumma musta'an. Heck, Allah's episodes. You know? But I mean, generally, it's better to take an easier text, but in Trinidad, in particular, they go through Al-Hidayah, is the main book in Darul. Right? So they studied that for 2 years, and they studied a book before that they studied the Rurida. Right? But I don't know exactly when the Rurida, I'm not sure if the Rurida either came from Kazim al-Qari, from Al-Wafi, or from Hidayah, I'm not too sure.
No Ridara?
No Rurida. Right? There's a book there, I don't know if this still is in Darul actually, but it's used as well.
I think that's one of the primary texts.
Yeah.
Alright, so after the don't know if in case anybody have any question, if you want to come back after the
Yeah.
show or anything.
Yeah, I don't have any questions to come up with.
Or if you want to, anybody have any question, anybody feel you need to come back after the show to discuss anything further? Everybody cool? Everybody good?
So those things get fixed or they change from time to time? Those things fixed or they change from time to time?
Well, I mean, what happens is that you'll find that, I mean, scholars according to the time, they migrate accordingly. So, do not still century scholar migrate something, and even you'll find scholars now, like Imam Asadi, he wrote a book called Manhaj al-Saliki, which is on Hanbali fiqh. Although some of the opinions are not popular opinions of the Hanbalis, right? So, he would have written some books, other scholars, so you have several in it, but these are the main ones, but you have several that a lot of people don't really use and study and think. We're talking about the more popular ones basically, right? So for example, a scholar now you can permit a text that people use it afterwards, so according to what people use and what is more popular in usage, basically.
It will be based on issues that probably would have developed as time go along as well,
No.
that the scholars would have faced.
No.
And some of these issues were not existed at the time in Kufa, that time issues that came up.
That's
Probably would not have been as-
very good, very good. Very
So
good.
as time developed,
Yeah.
they had to do ijtihad for new issues and there will be new science.
Exactly, very good. And this is what happened in Abedina in the time here. And in Abedina in the time here, as well as in Nawawi, and in London, Abdul and the King of God, they would have a great effect on the Masjid itself. And things are the ijtihad. So you will find in the handling of that in the time here, especially in the later militants, coming down to Adegna and South and these books like that, he has a big effect out of this fatwa are taken as precedence over the mobilists in some cases. There's something inshallah ta'ala. If anybody have any questions, they could come after and ask inshallah ta'ala.
Anybody have a question? If not, you all can send it to us, to the Jamaat page or something like that. Send it to me and we'll get this taken care of. Right, Jazakumullah khair for everyone for attending. Hope you all had an interesting time. We will forward the slides to your email addresses, inshallah. Alhamdulillah. Let's go for Salat al-Isha.